There you go. Hi, Ava. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. So the last time we met, I got to hear a lot about what brought you into counseling today. And after that session, I encouraged you to take an assessment, or just a quick inventory, just to gauge a little bit more about your anxiety. And so then this session is to talk a little bit more about that inventory you took, and kind of like your reflections of it and where we go from here. So before we talk a little bit about that, I want to hear about your experiences with taking the inventory, and just kind of your thoughts overall.
Yes, so the inventory was pretty straightforward to me. It allowed me to just think more about like, am I really experiencing anxiety or am I just like going through the motions or am I just having some type of reaction to what's going on? As far as like my social life and my life at home with my family and my relationship with my dad. So yeah, it just allowed me to like just rethink like, how I'm handling all these situations and just how I handle my emotions really in general. And yeah, I didn't think the assessment was too challenging at all. Um, I thought I was just easy. It was easy for me to just answer each question for the most part.
Mhm.
So so yeah, overall, I just thought it was fine.
Good, good. I know you mentioned just now that you felt like you were reflecting a lot about your emotions while taking this test. What went through your head? Like, what were you reflecting on while you were taking this test?
Yes, so really my emotions toward I mean, based off the questions, of course, it was asking a lot of about anxiety, like um about I believe it mentioned questions about like my social life or like interactions with people. Sorry if I can't remember like all what the questions asked, but um yeah, it just made me really just think more about like what I go through internally. So like sometimes I'm like, am I really experiencing anxiety or is it just like discomfort? So it just allowed me to reflect like more about like how I feel in these moments. That makes
Mhm.
sense. Like, because sometimes I don't feel like I'm that anxious, and sometimes I'm like, maybe I am. It's just hard to say,
Mhm.
really, because I can just be so mellow, but at the same time, I know some things tend to affect me. So yeah, so it just allowed me to reflect more really about how I feel in these situations.
Good, good. All right. Well, thanks for giving me some information on kind of like what your experiences were in taking this test. So I'm gonna pull up the test right now. Let's see here. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about like what this test is about, and kind of talking through it with you on the results of this test and what, this makes out of what we've been talking about lately. So as you're familiar, you just took the Beck Anxiety Inventory. What this helps assess is kind of your gauge in your anxiety, whether you may experience anxiety severely, or maybe not so much. It's kind of on a spectrum and helps me assess where you are, on an anxiety scale. So you were able to answer some questions about some physical feelings, maybe some mental and behavioral feelings regarding your anxiety. And you were assessing yourself from a 0 to a 3. So 0 being, I'm not feeling like this at all, and 3 being like, I severely feel this, and, it bothers me a lot. Um, so aside from your reflections on this test, do you have any questions about like the test in general?
No, not right now.
Okay. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about what this test means. So you answered 21 questions, each question ranging from a 0 to a 3, and your anxiety score turned out to be a 7. So what that means is from a score of 0 to 21, that's low anxiety. From a score of 22 to 35, that's moderate anxiety. And a score of 36 and above is potentially concerning levels of anxiety. Because you scored a 7, that means that you're in the realm of low anxiety. So that helps me gauge like where you are at the moment regarding your anxiety, and helps point out some like outliers of where your anxiety might lie, and can help us determine where we might want to take these future sessions. Do you have any questions on the scoring, or the results of this test?
No, I think the score makes sense. I know
Mhm.
I tend to get anxious depending on what the situation is, but I mean, um, like I understand the score, so that does make sense.
Good. All right. So I know I just mentioned that you scored a 7, but you primarily came into this session discussing about a multitude of different problems. How do you feel like this result kind of ties into what we've talked about in our last session?
I think it ties in that though I do experience low anxiety, um, there's still some things I can just work on or things that I can just overcome. So even though I'm not at a like more worse emotional state, um, I still tend to have some discomfort and still need help navigating social life, dealing with my relationship with my dad.
Hmm.
Um, just learning how to put myself out there more. So it's probably some of these situations may not be necessarily that I'm anxious, but that I just need more tools or more support
Hmm.
and how to deal with these situations. So I think it ties into it to where the main problem isn't that I suffer from high anxiety, but it's more so like just needing some type of like push or help toward better outcomes.
That's a
Um,
really good reflection you have there. And that's something that we can talk a little bit more in our future sessions, being able to develop different tools to kind of overcome these challenges that you may have in social or personal situations. So let's go ahead and plan out for the future then on what, your goals might look like for future sessions. So given your reflections on this test and what you want to work on, what do you feel like might be important for you to work on?
Working on probably being less to myself. So there's maybe a select few people I might try to talk to, but even that's very limited. It's not like I'm having long conversations with these people. So maybe just trying to get out of my shell a little bit more,
Mm.
maybe small steps.
Hmm.
And yeah, that could be a goal. Um, Trying to navigate how to deal with my dad going forward.
Hmm.
That can be a goal. I know there's quite a few things I came into counseling for, even like our relationship with my mom. It's okay, but could be better. So maybe like seeing ways for me to bond with her or at least fix whatever's, going on or, what's causing the distance between us, even though we live together. So I know I said a lot, but maybe, you know, those can be the goals since,
Yeah,
you know.
of course. And those are really great goals that you have there. So what do you feel like between these goals that you just mentioned might be the most important for you right now?
The most important for me right now is really getting out of my comfort zone and having a better senior year socially and maybe even in general. Just like growing as far as my social life because
Hmm.
it's my senior year and like I say, even though beyond senior year I want to be better socially, still I really want to enjoy this year and I think that making more connections could help.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I love how you just mentioned some like things that you're willing to do to kind of work towards that goal, making a little bit more connections, coming out of your shell a little bit. And that's something that we can talk about in our next session as well. Just keep those ideas in the back of your head of, okay, I need to make myself feel more social. What can I do to kind of inch myself closer to that goal? I would love to hear like what ideas you have in our next sessions and see how we can complete that for
Mhm.
future sessions to come.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. Well, it was great talking to you. You take care.
Okay, you too. Thank you so
Bye.
much.